Once upon a time, in a distant kingdom immersed in the depths of history, the royal palace was trembling under the rule of King Kasir, who was not bored with his eyes full of greed, but sought something greater than her. On a windy day, he entered and was greeted by a strangely dressed man. He carries an ebony box. Inside it is a rare pomegranate. It receives as if it were a quote from Shining Stars. He told the queen that this was a fruit made of Aya by the Creator's handiwork. Who drinks pure juice? God opens his ears to understanding the language of birds and animals. Whoever tells you that I am silent? The king's eyes sparkled with desire to possess this. He insisted to increase his power, so he called his servant, the young woman Nur al-Din, who is known among everyone for the purity of his soul and the chastity of his tongue. His command is to take the fruit and squeeze it into a golden jug, forbidden from spitting a single drop of it. Otherwise, death would be the same thing. A betrayal of his faith. Nur al-Din entered the kitchen remembering God. He is amazed by the beauty of the fruit, an innovation in its time with a severe ban. A pleasant scent spread throughout the place, a desert of senses. In between, the fruitsy liquid is poured into the mug. Small sprays flew and stuck to his hand. So Ahab touched his tongue with complete chastity, without a whack realizing his action. Suddenly, Sarivi Adoni felt a strange warmth. Time and walls of silence around him. It was replaced by a startling noise, where he heard him taking charge of the stable. She talks about her longing for green meadows, and a bird on the window cursing him, praising his lord. They tell his companion about the secrets of the forest. Nur al-Din then realized that a miracle had happened, and God has bestowed upon him things the likes of which have never been seen before. Above his glory is the light of this new world, which opened before him in a moment that was not in al-Husban. From Nur al-Din al-Kad, the condition of King Kasir. He is trying to hide his confusion. The king sipped it at once, and sitting, waiting for the veil to be revealed to him. But his heart, the cruel one, was not worthy of that gift. He heard nothing but the silence of the palace, which made him angry. And at that critical moment, Nur al-Din heard Sultan Haddon coming from the top of the palace balcony, where the Sakraniya was fighting over the scarf of the two people, encrusted with pearls, and someone heard what he was saying. This scarf is for Princess Firoza, the owner of the city of Al-Zamr. The doctor's footsteps fell from it. Suddenly, the scarf escaped from their claws. The status of the king's council fell completely, so he baptized him to the place, the scent of Al-Gamida perfume. While Nur al-Din Swama Nur remained watching the scene with his heart, near diff. I didn't know that God's destinies were. It started in a way he never imagined. Never. King Kasir could not hide his suspicion. He turns the scarf over in his hands. He looked at Nur al-Din emphatically. When Maulam saw their oath on his face, his eloquence and tone terrified those present. Speak, servant. Do you know the secret of this scarf? Or did you taste my drink? Nur al-Din was sure that I would believe him and come. So he told him that the scarf belonged to Princess Firoza in Zumarud city. And they understood that from the hadith of the hawks. The king went crazy with jealousy and greed. Al-Rastigul decided to reach the princess. So he took hold of his sword and placed it on Ankur al-Din's neck, saying, "Since you have this navel, you will now come out in my request for this princess, and bring her to me so that I can marry her." And he knew with certainty that you were given to me disappointed, or she tried to escape or did not come to the princess. I will cut off your head and hang it in the palace, to be an example for every traitor. Determine for yourself whether it will succeed or perish. Fakhr Janar al-Din from the palace with tears in my eyes. Trust in God's unity. On a journey where death is closer than life. Nur al-Dini betrayed the walls of the kingdom. He feels the weight of responsibility, and fear lives inside me from the threat of King Kasir. But he derived his strength from his trust in the Creator. What made him modern was his pleasure in understanding the language of beings. While they were passing the religion of Abyssinia, they heard a hum of yes to the people of panic emanating from among the deserts, accumulating. The approacher found a large rock that had collapsed. I spoiled the entrance to the decadent kingdom. He heard the queen reaping her soldiers for patience. God shines with salvation. Nur al-Dini did not hesitate for a single moment. You will serve the powerful people. He exerted double his effort until he removed the rock from the entrance to the empty space. Then the bees came out, floating around him happily. The queen approached him and said, "I am keen to hear and understand." Illuminates the religion. Indeed, if you said, I am more grateful to glorify the praise of its Lord. Good deeds value the wrestler of the wall. I promise to return the favor to you when your paths become difficult. It is called Nur al-Dina. Thankful for the grace of my Lord, which he used in the service of creation. Nur al-Dini continued his journey, Sad Nahaj Balan, and Ara Antak, a plain of clouds. There, this mushroom is roasted in its heart. A predatory hawk with great wings struggling for death in iron nets placed by a treacherous fisherman. The falcon was looking at the horizon with a broken eye and praying to its creator about the days of freedom. To return to his luxury in the highest rubbish. Nur al-Din's heart softened and he approached him with caution, reassuring him with his gentle voice. Then he reached out and cut the net carefully until the bird was freed and died. He laughed and laughed happily, then returned and landed on a nearby rock and said to Nur al-Din, I believe I am a captivating companion with a compassionate heart. And Lana, take this feather from my wings and know that the princess you are looking for lives in the city of Zamrud. Behind the valley of fog, I will be your guide and your eyes in the sky until you arrive there safely. So Nur al-Din will give good tidings, and he will realize that God is befriending the believer with an army that humans will not see, to illuminate his miserable paths. On the 10th day of his journey, Nur al-Din reached the bank of a river that was eventually considered a bridge. I met a group of men I claimed were merchants heading to the city of Zamrud. He welcomed them and thought well of them, as required by noble nobility, but they were the first days of his life. When they saw his honesty and goodness despite his evil, they saw that he was carrying a treasure, so who would have enough of his provisions? While they were crossing the river on a dilapidated boat, he was betrayed by them and they pushed him so hard that the overwhelming waves reached him. To give them refuge in Sarakadia. And he was drowned in their sinful laughter as they saw them swallowing water. Nur al-Din found himself struggling with drowning and being driven by deserts. So he raised his gaze to the sky, shouting with a believing heart, O ever living, with mercy like a call for help. And at that moment when he thought that the end had come, the hawk had heard so much. He descended with strong, living jinn to touch the lining of his clothes and ease the flow of water for him. He directs his mind toward the stump of a rotting tree to grab hold of it. The waves brought them back to the other side safely. He sat there speechless and would not tremble from the ground, but he prostrated to God in thanks for saving him from 2 tomorrows. Because he was saved from the ravages of humans and realized that whoever is with God, there is no fear for me. The falcon approached him and told him that it was the Emerald City. It was 1 day's journey away, and we were given a livelihood to command. And he prepares to direct her rage, which does not accept escape easily. They made 2 dice and offered to flip as he bored. He was protected by his certainty that he who started this journey was good. God must seal it for him with relief and acceptance, so he walked behind Al-Zakar on the horizon. Leaving behind him the treachery of the traitors, he headed towards a destiny that would be great for those who wait for him. Behind the shining city walls. As if she was cut from heaven on earth. And Selenar al-Din to the walls of the city of Emerald. The one that used to shine in you was cut from heaven above the mountaintops. Where the falcon bid him farewell in the sky, signaling to him the beginning of the most difficult mission. The wife entered the house, and Naziltani al-Mansur, the princess's father, entered the rose. He is a king known for his wisdom, justice, and abhorrence of oppression. Above Fnawar al-Din Bini has Bukharan and he has a star. He presented to her King Khazar's request to propose to his daughter, Princess Firoza. The Sultan looked at Nur al-Dini with fury in his eyes, and Bari squeaked. Which the mighty kings do not have. Despite his admiration for his role, he decided to put him through 2 tests. It reveals whether this youth is supported by God's help. Or is he just a messenger, let us pass by, and he said to him, Basit Razan. O my son, my daughter will only marry someone who has proven that his heart is full of patience and certainty. You have 1 night to carry out the order. And to OT from where I am disappointed. Sultan al-Mansur ordered Nur al-Din to be taken to 2 basements under the palace. There she was found to grow grains, in which small wheat grains are mixed with mustard seeds for a minute, in a way that is impossible to separate. Sultan told him that he had to sort these grains completely, so that no pills remain out of place, before the dawn call to prayer rises, and the closure of the Abu Hab. Sanar al-Din was alone in the darkness of the place. He looked at those mountains of mixed foliage. He realized that human strength is not enough to accomplish this work in 1 family. Even if 100 men gathered for her, Nur al-Din did not hesitate to bring medicine with him. He tamed the nations he found and prayed to God, asking for help and relief. He believed that he was the one who saved him from drowning. His rock, the falcon, will not leave him alone in these ordeals. In the atmosphere of the family, and a place of calm surrounding the city, suddenly we heard the hum of the strong people in the dark basement. And behold, countless armies of ours. It is better to avoid small holes and sticks. And then I work in Tannic from Madhal. He curses God with his tongue. Nalad used to carry grains of wheat with great skill. And we put it to one side, and mustard seeds in the end. She was hunted by Nur al-Din, who kept watching this strange scene in the hearts of the people of Altanan while sleeping. He did not care about the first threads of dawn. The task was completed perfectly. And separate the grains completely. It was the hand of fate that drew the hint. Sanur al-Din's radish extinguishes the sunrise. He feels Hassan's blessing, which does not harm the creator. When the doors open in the morning, Sultan al-Mansur was astonished by what he saw. Nur al-Din found Ghalisin in Sakina Intima. He accomplished the impossible. Then the king became certain that this young man was Sakit from Adia. Rather, he is the owner of great poetry. The princess came out and rose from Waresa. She saw in Nur al-Din a sense of dignity and dignity. She did not limit him to the princes who proposed to her. And the slogan Bad Den Garaban is ignored. After Lamstamonth and Sataka, Ali Nazultan and his success in sending their daughter, Anwar al-Din, the great procession is ready to depart. So Nur al-Din left the city. My father will not have the trust with him. But his heart felt a responsibility. I grew up ignorant of a princess, which started from the two ends of the prophet's chain and companion will not, while the wind was whispering in it. And his thoughts are that what is coming in the kingdom of the king is Kaiser. It may be more difficult than Mfat. The procession left the city of Zamrud. On the way back, the princess was in rows, watching Nur al-Din. He walked in front of her with two smiles and dignity. I am amazed at God's power. She made him hear the praise of the trees, and the rustle of horseshoes greeting them enthusiastically. I sensed in his speech a wisdom that was not appropriate for a servant. So when they went down to a house to rest, everything that flies to make you feel lonely and miserable. When I asked him about my secret, he made me noble and good. Tell her that the honor secured in deafness is my currency. With the Creator not in office. No, it increased its value. You realized that we should abandon this patient facade. The soul of the believer rises above him. Worldly ambitions. And a mission as well. Nurdin felt a lump in his chest. Everything approaching a kingdom. He knows that King Kasir cannot. Honesty, but it is the third in the yen of the covenant. Asking the Creator to write goodness for them wherever it may be. And he will turn away from them the plots of plotters. When the procession arrived at the outskirts of the kingdom, King Khazar received them with a show of pottery. But his eye did not fall for Nureddin's fatigue. Rather, his gaze was fixed on the princess in rows. As if it were a braided spoil. No human being has her worth. When he entered the large hall of the palace, May Munawarudin princess. The queen, politely. King Gavin Glidthan responded. He ordered him to return to his hard work immediately. As if he was not satisfied with the desert and the wastelands. Risks to his life. I felt in Rose a strong dismay at the king's cruelty. And the goodness of his creation. She told him in the truth. Nur al-Din is a man, God bless him. And I do it for my own good. Then jealousy and hatred ignited in King Kasir's chest. And I realized that the presence of this young man, Sadiq, makes me feel like a princess. Reveal his own imposture. So he started knitting in the emptiness of his heart. The woman's plot to finally get rid of him. The next day, King Kasir pretended to be satisfied, unusually. He called Nur al-Din to tell him about the Sanin Masul. He decided to reward him for his loyalty. He gave me a condescending response in the palace. What is this matter? He asked him to accompany him to an old, deserted burn. It is located on the outskirts of the park. It is true that it is the fulfillment of the covenant in which the king blesses their men. And he wants from Nur al-Din to draw a drink from it. Before my announcement of his new captivity, Nur al-Din Nakiu was truthful. Saying it, he walked behind him on a good foot. And he was not heard on his way. Except for the sound of a crow crowing above Gassanias. And they say to his friend, oh, how miserable are the treacherous hearts that are filled with envy. But Nur al-Din is harassed by. They think that the king has improved his situation. We expect the one who betrays the eyes. And don't reduce your role. Once we reach the edge of the cows. Abyssal. Nur al-Din has no head to look into its depth. Water is extracted from it. Until King Kasir pushed hard. And treachery is severe. Nur al-Din's payment is not a shadow. Telber, which covered deserts and longings. The king laughed like Othma. And the palace justices are telling everyone with false tears. The maid killed him in the reefs. No trace of him was found. While Princess Rose was in her room. She feels darkness in her heart. So she fell down and prostrated herself, praying to her creator, to protect Nur al-Din from all evil. And the truth appears. And it wasn't. Learn that God's race on earth does not grow. Rather, preservation is God's right to prosperity. He will not leave him alone in the darkness of the pit. In the pure darkness of barrenness. Nur al-Dini did not give in to despair despite any comfort. By being lost, he is bound to his creator, who saved him from the horrors of the path beforehand. And while he was touching the walls of the naked man, Bowen, he heard a strong rustling above her mouth. And then there was the falcon that he freed from the window. He seeks his head from among the deserts. He brought with him a sturdy rope of Li in the palm. He had found it at the outskirts of the forest. Nur al-Dini clung to the rope with all his might, while the bird flew above him as if supporting him with its wings. Until he can get out and breathe freedom again. Nur al-Dini hurried towards the palace with supportive winds. They were determined to bring out the truth in Kashzai against the treacherous king, who thought that the zenith was equivalent to the depths of the earth. In the royal palace, the wedding ceremony was held. An atmosphere of excitement had begun to arrive, where the princess in Rose was sitting with you. A bird with a broken wing refuses to accept this fate. She secretly prays to God to show her the truth. Suddenly, the doors in the great hall opened with force. Nur al-Din entered carrying the dust of the journey and treacherous wounds. But his face was radiating the light of eloquence and courage. Silence and confusion reigned throughout the place. The blood froze in the veins of Royal Khazar, who thought he saw the ghost of Nad from al-Madalai and Hazib. The owner of the shaken tone orders his guards to arrest him. But Nur al-Din's dignity and steadfastness made the guards respond. Feeling that this young man carries in his chest certainty that kings do not have it at that decisive moment, the old nanny came forward patiently, which has been reducing radishes for many years. And a loud shout that shook the corners of the hall. Everyone stop and take your hands off the legitimate heir. For this throne then revealed the royal birthmark on Nur al-Din's shoulder, which she had hidden since her childhood. It should be clear to everyone that Nur al-Din is the prince Siraj al-Din al-Akalaskar of King Qasir. The one whom you commanded to be hidden from him is my lord Lafrida Khazar Bafkal. But if she killed him, she raised him as a servant who was beyond help. The hall was filled with cheering and shouting. And everyone realized that they were in front of their true king, who was refined by adversity and tested by fate. Why do they care about truth and justice? King Qasir saw that his king was Khazal. He was absolutely terrified. He tried to escape through the back garden door. You're in need. And his fear is intense and he is hysterical. His foot slipped and he fell into the same well that he had dug for Nur al-Din. So that his reward is in line with his work. And he loses the bitterness of the power that he gave to others. Thank you Nur ad-Din. Or King Siraj al-Din. He assumed the reins of government with a merciful heart and the same generosity. He married the prince and Rose in a wedding, blessed by far and near. And Isham said, there is a word that is dominated by suffixes and suffixes, where the new Satan was destroying the oppressed. And they hear the complaints of Al-Taif. So that his story remains the same as the truth always. And the reward is for the righteous and patient. This is where our stories end on this day. We will see you in the next story, God willing.